everybody, and welcome to another session of Ljubljana Talks. And as you know, here from IMEX 2024, we are coming live, and with Gorazd we have another great talk ahead of us with Stephanie Dubois from SAP, and we are very excited to have you because you are connected to the industry in so many ways. And the first question we will have for you is, how come what turns did you make and what decisions did you make that you ended up in the meetings industry?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me. It was a long way and a long way around. If I look back, the very first time I organized an event, I was 13. And I got sponsorships. My parents paid for the sound. And I had people buy their tickets to come into the best party of the year. So I just didn't know at the time that this was actually a job. So I didn't pursue it as a career. I came into SAP in 2007 through a small door. I was an executive assistant for a European team, and one thing led to another. 5 years later, I joined, a little more than 5 years, 7 years later, I joined the events team, and I've been there for 10 years now, and enjoying almost every day of it.
Since we want to impress younger generation to join our industry, I want to dig a little bit deeper. What is actually your background so that they will know?
So I studied languages applied to business, okay. English and Spanish, with some marketing and some business law and geopolitics, just a very generic background. And then as far as career goes, I started off as customer service, right? I was like those hard calls, those hard emails when people complain for a car rental.
Quite stressful,
company.
I assume.
It was quite stressful, yes. But you learn to deal with characters and people, and so it was a good learning experience. And then within SAP, I was an executive assistant, I was in marketing, I was in business operations, I did several things. In between, I was a teacher, which it doesn't seem very related, but actually when we do event, there is a good bit of education and adult learning in the way we deliver our content that needs to be taken into account. So it's actually quite helpful.
Interesting. And how big is your team now? You lead quite a big team, I suppose.
Right now, my team is 25 people directly reporting to me. It's all of the event managers and operations leads, so the people that make it happen, literally. And we, this group of 25 are part of a larger global events department that includes also the people that specialize in technology, those that specialize in communications, those that specialize in managing our partners and sponsorships. So really all of the different groups together in one department.
Sorry. What kind of people do you hire? What kind of profile is the best for?
The good kind.
Okay.
Now at SAP, we tend to hire talent where it is. And so we have a team that's really spread geographically all over the world, mostly in Europe and in North America. But we also have people in Latin America and Asia. That diversity alone is wonderful. We hire people of different backgrounds. We have some that came straight out of agencies, some that really went through the ranks of the company like I did, some that seem to have been there forever, and some that just came in as students. So it's really a diverse background. I think what almost all of them have in common is attention to detail and resilience.
So in this context, another question, do you support more work from home or work in the office?
We're very much a work from home team. We were a work from home team before the COVID crisis, so that didn't change much of anything.
Okay.
The reason that works for us is we do get to connect on site at events. If we didn't have that opportunity, then no, it would be very difficult.
There's a question I have to ask, and amongst many other projects that you did with your team there's the award-winning Sapphire Now project, and it's a really good practice case on ROI and research. Could you tell us more about this project?
Sapphire Now it's a long story. It started in 1989, so 35 years ago, and it was a small group of users getting together and talking about the products and talking about the roadmaps. And actually, there's an anecdote I like to share. During that meeting, our founder, Hasso Plattner, was there, and he had to interrupt a session to announce that the wall of Berlin had fallen, which for a German company was a really, really big deal. So that was the fall of 89. And since then, it's grown organically. Always more people, always more ground to cover. The company's grown, our portfolio has grown, our ecosystem has grown, and little by little, more and more people, more and more players from that ecosystem attended Sapphire. In 2019, as far as number of people goes, it culminated in some 23,000 people. And then, of course, COVID derailed all of that. And we thought for a minute there, wow, it's going to really take it down, change it, make it smaller. And that's not really what happened. Now that we're, 4 or 5 years later, we see that it just changed the course. The growth continues, but it's not on the same path anymore of always bigger, always bigger. It's changed its course. We've divided it into 2 geographies. We have a virtual instance of the event that is growing exponentially. We've really learned to do that. We didn't know, right? And so that's what happened with Sapphire, and I believe from the bottom of my heart it's still a best-in-class event. Yes.
So we are all looking and checking what you are doing. This is a kind of benchmark. But how do you start designing the project? What is the design process in SAP, in your team?
All right, so what we try to do as much as we can is start from the objectives. What are we trying to accomplish? Because it's so easy to jump into what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Let's take a step back and look at what we're trying to accomplish, and look at the message. What do we want people to walk away with? So what is the content going to be about? So, first and foremost, business objectives, and then at the heart of it, the content, and we design around that. Now, that's an ideal world. In reality, we all know how it is. We have the venue booked ahead of time, which does not give us all of the freedom. So we have to work within those constraints, also expectations from our audience, from our executives. So we work all of that in, but the guiding principle is objectives first, content at the heart. And if we can stick to that, we'll be good.
Since we have quite a lot of destinations here present, they're of course interested. How do you choose destination? What are your criteria? When you know why, of course. Why and how?
Sure. So how we choose the venues. I mean, we've been in Orlando for a very long time, so the loyalty and the ability to partner is something really important, and not just with the convention center, but really with the city, the entire ecosystem around it. That's really, really significant for us. And then we look at criteria, of course, accessibility, sustainability is a big one, and the ability to stay there long term. We don't like to just jump from one place to another. We want to build together. We want partners.
So, what's the next destination that you're perhaps eyeing for one of your events?
We're in Orlando again next year, for sure. And in the fall, we're going to be in Vegas and in Lisbon. In Vegas for an event called Spend Connect, and in Lisbon, which is a first, for an event called Success Connect.
Wow. So you basically work globally. And how do you see differences between working, let's say, in the States and working in Europe? How does that affect how you prepare for an event and how you go and do it?
There are cultural differences that we need to take into account, also within the team. What I really, really love about my team is we truly are global. We don't have people working on US events and people working on European events. I led Sapphire, which was in Orlando in Florida, from Paris. So it's, you know, it makes it sometimes a little difficult with the time schedule, but we do a good job, I think, of being respectful of the fact that people have lives internally. And that just, it brings so much diversity. It's not always the same point of view. We bring some European points of views to the Americans and the other way around, and that's an added value that's worth much more than the small difficulties that it creates. Are there inherent differences? Yes and no. In a way, sometimes we engage with our partners and our vendors, but in the end, we do manage to deliver very consistent brand experiences from one to the other.
You're active as a jury member of several competitions, and of course also BIA awards. How do you assess the quality of works this year actually, or in the last 2 years? Is it getting better or worse? What is your opinion? Are we more creative, less creative?
The creativity is off the charts, I think. We all know the challenges. People travel less. People want to travel less because it's not sustainable. Budgets, at best, stay flat. Sometimes get cut. Costs increase. That it's very hard for all of us in the event industry, and at the same time, isn't that what makes us be our best, most creative, and find solutions? And there's something really, really exciting about that. And the other aspect is the virtual experiences. We had tried in the past to do some things online, and it was never quite there. And with the crisis we experienced 4 years ago, we had to. It was not an option anymore. And I feel like a lot of people figured out good ways to leverage that medium for the particular audience it addresses without trying to replace the in-person experience. It's really complementary, and I think a lot of progress has been made in that area as well.
I watched Eurosong. I watched Eurosong this weekend. Did you watch it?
No.
No, but it was a high-tech production, I would say. Then we cannot talk about it if you didn't watch it, you know. So, but my question was: is this the ultimate? I would say production we can see nowadays? It was full of LEDs and so on, or the content still matters. That's my question, because it was more about technology and show than about songs and music. So, what is your opinion about that? Is content still important, or who cares? It's just about technology and LEDs and so on.
Technology is a support. It has to carry something, in my opinion. Now, if the goal is to demonstrate what the technology can do, then yes, it's going to be all about the special effects and the. But I think content will remain king. As far as events are concerned, whether it's online and even more so in person, something that has shifted is content is still king, but the networking is more important than ever. The ability to connect to others, and technology can support that. Again, it's not about making it flashy and pretty. It's about making it functional and enabling those connections, and that's technology that will last.
So, in what way would you actually apply that in practice? Could you give us an example of technology in creating a better networking experience?
So on site, of course, we have different functionalities in the app that facilitate that. We simply organize sessions. We also look at the agenda. It's not quite as packed as it used to be because people need that time. We feel the need that when you have hundreds and hundreds of sessions all running in parallel, you can feel a little overwhelmed, and there needs to be some time with no FOMO, no fear of missing out. Just time to recharge either just your batteries or just go and talk one-on-one, have that time. That's not purely technological, but it's still something that needs to be really baked into the design of the event. And of course, online, there are countless options for chats, whether it's AI That's not really favorable to human interaction. We like to have actual experts during the session answering the questions live, and through the different platforms that we use that's enabled there, and I think that's a good use case for this connection.
Would you say that technology has been more adopted after COVID, or would you say that we've kind of gone back to doing events how we did them before COVID, in your case?
Both. I was a little bit surprised at how much we went back to what we used to do. I did expect more of a change, but that's not to say it didn't change at all. It really has. And again, those virtual platforms, the virtual experience, as far as we're concerned, is now fully adopted and systematically part of the experience. And we're not trying to mix the on-site and the online. It's clearly two different channels. What we mix is the production, right? We leverage the on-site events to produce the online content. And in that way, it has changed. It's changed the way we work, for sure. And this year, AI is starting to really shift the way we work as well. I wouldn't want to start digging there because I don't feel personally quite ready to say, yeah, we've adopted all of it. But clearly there's something there that's changing as we speak.
Sustainability. Do you measure your carbon footprint at Sapphire and other events? So do you know exactly what is the main source of carbon footprint, and what do you think about so-called regenerative effects? For example, can we measure the happiness of participants? Do we have a tool for that? If they come back from the event, enter to your machine, I would say Sapphire, and then went out completely new persons. So how do you measure that?
We try to measure that as much as possible with the feedback feedback loop, really, that we try to have along the event for each session. And there's nothing extremely new there. We measure the mood on social media and that sort of things. As far as sustainability goes, yes, carbon footprint is one measure, but we also measure how much is recycled and how much, how many flights, how many people came by train, how many. We also take into account diversity. Sustainability is not just about being green and environmentally friendly. It's also about using local resources, supporting the local businesses. And so we do look very closely at all of that and try to be better year after year. As well as I do, it's hard to find industry benchmarks on those subjects. So we try to be our own benchmark and just do better every time and find the right partners to work.
One angle we need to touch is also pitching by the event agencies. What is your strategy towards that? If you're looking for event agency, because we just talked with one of the biggest agencies in Europe or in the world, I would say, and we talked about pitching. Do you have a strategy regarding that? You invite more agencies, or how does it work with SAP if you're looking for event agency?
SAP is a really, really big house, so an RFP process is a long one. Depending on what it is we're looking for, because sometimes we look at a full service model and an agency like the one you just mentioned. And in that case, what we're going to be looking at is their ability to dedicate the resources to us, and their ability to be flexible, and their ability to understand us and partner with us. Sometimes we'll look at just one work streams, AV producer, that sort of things, because that's all we need. But either way, what is really, really precious to us is the ability to build a relationship over time and a real partnership. We need to be understood. We're a complex company. We cannot change providers every year because it takes longer than that to onboard them. So we need to trust that there's going to be longevity in that relationship to be able to build it.
as I'm coming from a destination background, so you've been using Orlando for one of your events for how many years?
20.
There you go. So how do you see the relationship between SAP and the whole connection between the destination? Do you see what do you cherish about it? How does it work?
What we cherish is the partnership with them. We work with the airport. We work with the local hotel community. We work with Visit Orlando, which is the destination management, local businesses, the parks, and we've built that ecosystem over the years. That means that when SAP's come into town, everybody knows it, and we love to get some love, and we try to give it some back, and it's quite tangible when we go and we talk about what else can we do? It's not easy to reinvent an event 20 years in a row in the same location, and so again we look also to our partners for some additional ideas to help us there.
We are coming to the end of our discussion, and we usually finish with short questions. My first one is actually walking or running?
Walking.
Can you explain this a little bit more?
I hate running.
Okay.
I hate running too. Mountains or the sea?
Mountains in the summer, the ocean in the winter.
Well, this is more for men, beer or wine, but anyhow, I will ask. Wine. Of course, wine. Of course. Okay. Stephanie, thanks for joining us for this great discussion we had. And stay tuned. We are coming back at 4 o'clock again with another Ljubljana Talks. And once again, thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing discussion.
Thank you.